Hello there everyone, and welcome to John Drinks, the channel which I, John, have a drink. And as you can probably tell from the spread in front of me, we're going to be here a little bit longer than normal today. This is a selection of cask samples from an up-and-coming distillery, which I'm actually really excited about, called Lindores Abbey. Now, normally when people say this is something I'm really excited of, it normally means that they've gone, here's a couple of quid, say some nice stuff about us. That's not the case with this. I hope we know each other well enough by now to know that I don't tend to do that kind of stuff. In fact, I don't think I've done that stuff at all yet. What we've got in front of us is a cask sample pack that I sent away for about 2 months ago. I was casually browsing on the Lindores website to kind of see, get a bit of news about basically when they were going to be releasing their first bottlings, because as I've already said, this is something I'm quite looking forward to. And I discovered they were going to be doing an online tasting, which were all the rage a couple of months ago when everything was looking really fucking tits up. Still is, to be fair. And this was available, and I was like, oh, I want to try that. I want to have a look at what it is that they're making. And without wanting to jump to the end already, these have sort of cemented in my head that age doesn't make a blind bit of fucking difference. It's the liquid that you're making in the first place, and the casks that you pick, and the terroir as well, and sort of what you do with what it is you're making as opposed to how old it is. Because I've had some much older stuff than this that has been spectacularly inferior. So today we're going to go through all of these. Actually, I'm just going to have to quickly remind myself if I'm going from left to right, because I set this up the other way around and now I'm confused. So, is this the Isla? Yes, cool. So I'm starting at this end, except I'm not, because I'm starting with this. This is a book. You may have seen one before. This actually came with the tasting set. They didn't actually say they were going to... They might have said they were sending this out. I can't remember. It was like 2 months ago. And it's a little like whiskey tasting notes book, and I've filled in a couple of bits and pieces with different stuff in here already, and it's served me quite well so far. I'm quite happy with it. It's a book. There's like pages in it, and you can write stuff. It's amazing technology. But I wrote down notes for the tasting that I had a couple of months ago, and I've kind of held off doing this because I didn't want to feel like I was just kind of going, okay, cool, here's the information, now I'm going to represent it. I want to take a bit of time and kind of think about it. And I've tried these again and dipped in and out and kind of cemented my thoughts about them. These are all not classed as whiskey yet. They're too young. They're actually classed as maturing spirit. I did have to check my notes there. It's a bit of a weird name there. So it's sort of fetal whiskey, I suppose you want to. That's a horrible, fucking horrible way of thinking. Why would you do that, John? No. We've actually got 5 things to drink today. We're going to start off with this. This is what kind of got me interested with Lindores to begin with. My first encounter with this distillery, I didn't even realise it was a distillery at the time. I encountered their aquavitae, which most other new distilleries, when they're just starting out, they'll go, oh, I'm going to make a gin and make a quick buck while my whiskey's maturing. And that's the easy thing to do. They didn't do the easy thing. Because Lindores Abbey is hella old. Hang on, let me... Anno MCXCI. So there you go. Any Romans in the audience will now know how old it is. Fuck, I should have written that down. Bollocks to it, never mind. It's old. It's very old. And they basically had to go at recreating the original whiskey. Before it was whiskey, it was this like herbal concoction basically. And it's nice, and I've tried doing like a few different bits and pieces with like cocktails and stuff, and you know what, it works pretty well as a mixing spirit, and it's something a bit different. It's certainly a curiosity. And it has its stalwart fans. Like seriously, people that are fans of that are just like, this is the best thing ever. And I get it, you're going to have strong feelings about that because it's so unique and weird and unusual. But that wasn't the thing that kind of brought me around to the distillery. What brought me around was this, which is their new make. I've had new make spirit before, and it tends to be kind of like, it's either a fantastic gauge for how their whiskey is going to end up, or it's gasoline. There doesn't seem to be any in between. So there's some fantastic new make spirits out there. There are some not so great ones. This is definitely a fantastic one because the signature on it is insane. I mean, if anyone's ever had Geneva. If anyone's not had Geneva and you're just like, what are you talking about? I'll kind of go over it. But basically, if you smelled this and did not get a loaf of bread in the oven as the first neuron sparking your head, I don't think you've ever smelt freshly baked bread. It's that strongly reminiscent of just bread. I put a notation down here that it should be 63.5%. That's the strength of their new make spirit. To try it as well, it's peppery but sweet, and it's not harsh. There's like a tingle in the back of your throat, but it's not that kind of alcohol burn that you sometimes get with sort of cheap and nasty liquor, for a simple reason. This is not cheap and nasty liquor. This is stuff that's had a bit of time spent on it. I'm going to drop a bit of water into it as well to kind of see how it opens up. I realise we're already like 5 minutes into this video and we've not even touched the whiskies yet, so I did warn you this is going to be a bit longer. But if you like watching me, then you're getting your money's worth. You didn't pay anything for this. Who would? Ooh, a message. C'est possible. Wonder what that's about. Okay. The yeasty sourdoughy kind of notes go away and it's replaced by this beautiful vanilla signature, which is incredible. And shouldn't really be there because it's not had any interaction with cask. That's normally the kind of flavour compound you get once you put something in wood and start aging it, but it's here in the new make already, or something reminiscent of it. Freshly baked donuts before they've been glazed as well. I have had that experience a grand total of twice, and that was because I bought some freshly baked donuts and they forgot to put anything on them, and I was like, do you know what, these are alright though, I'm into it. A little bit curranty as well. It's like a little bit of blackcurrant in there as well. So it's pretty damn complex. So that's the new make out of the way. These are all above 60%. So if by the time we get to the last one and I'm not making a lot of sense, you now know why. We're going to start out with this one. So this is cask 229. It was started out life in 2018 and it's a first fill Old Forester cask. It says ASB and I can't remember what that stands for, unfortunately. I should have googled that. I just put ASB. Alien Sack of Biscuits. That's probably what it means. 62% ABV, and there's a notation here, a little story about they raced Cavalan, the whiskey producers, for the best cask from Old Forester, and they won, which is exciting. So Cavalan lost out to these guys this time around, which, I mean, is impressive, if nothing else. No colour, no chill filtration, which is kind of what we'd expect from this, or what we would hope for from a new distillery, because I think you need that little bit of provenance to help you stand out when you're starting out, and long may that continue. So this has been airing for a few minutes. Because it's so young, 2.5 years, it doesn't really need much time at all. So it's had a bit of extra just to kind of aerate, let a little oxygen into there. It's very citrusy, like lemon, lime, grapefruit zest. There's a bit of the raw alcohol coming through because, again, it's so young. A bit like, it's reminding me something of like a sweet shop, but not like chocolate or something else. Like pear drop, like boiled sweets, sort of generic boiled sweets kind of smell. Like hard sugar candy. It's difficult to describe how much flavour is in that when you first taste it. It's crazy. It's got so much fucking flavour to it. It's vanilla exploding into your mouth. It really is. When I was reviewing the Johnnie Walker Gold label, I talked about how sometimes there can be like a harshness and it doesn't relate to the strength. This is much less aggressive, but it's about 20% stronger. In fact, it's over 20% stronger, but it's smoother, for want of a better way of putting it. It's a dangerous whiskey. Well, not whiskey, maturing spirit, but when that's finished maturing, it's going to be stunning. It's going to be absolutely bloody stunning because it's already got so much fucking flavour, and it's going to be spending more time in that cask and just picking up more, which at this point already doesn't seem possible. And it's, again, I reiterate, it's not even old enough to be classed as whiskey yet, and it's already got all that in it. It's amazing. It's fantastic. There is a spirituous quality to it because of how strong it is, but it's not overwhelming. It's not particularly harsh. It's there, it's warming, but it's not kind of like that. It's not like that cheap tequila thing where you're like, it's not that at all. You can totally bear it. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this because I feel like water is a good thing with something that's strong. I'm not going to put too much in because I've not poured too much. I'm trying to make these samples last because they're like hen's teeth. You know, once they're gone, it's going to be a while before you get to try these things again. And I would imagine because they're first releases, probably going to go like that. So much more of that vanilla is coming through now. Most of the citrus components have gone away, but there is still like a little bit of a lemoniness, but it's much fainter. And in its place you've got like butterscotch, caramel, vanilla. Sort of standard bourbon components, what you'd expect. Can't wait for this to get released, I really can't. Yeah, the water just kind of, it carries the vanilla into more sort of complex, sweet components. So you've got caramel, you've got butterscotch, you've got a little bit of like icing sugar in there as well. And then there's like plums, green gages, sort of like bitter stewed fruits kind of qualities as well. And then the finish is just like a little bit more vanilla. Right, so the next filler we're moving on to is this one here. So we've got cask 293, again, 2018, first fill Oloroso sherry butt. Now, sherry butters are quite big fuckers, so there's a little less contact with the wood to the whiskey, but if memory serves, you wouldn't know it from this. 62.6% ABV. I've got a few tasting notes here, but I'm going to try and go in a little bit black. I was going to pour that. I didn't even realise that I'd done it already. Silly me. More of the spirit components come through on this one, on the nose. And it gives way to sort of like real leather, you know, like the cheap imitation leather. It's much more spiritus, much more sort of aggressive on the nose. There are some like faint fruit components coming through, like a tiny bit of like raisin and stuff, but it is mostly the spirit. It sort of singes the nostrils, this one. Yeah, more off components than anything else. Sort of like elements of an ashtray. Not necessarily tobacco, more sort of ash. Fairly natural, but again, it's kind of struggling to come through the strength, and again, because it's so young, we have to kind of give it a pass. This one was maybe sort of the swotty kid in the class, but yeah. But we're going to try it neat. I've got a mouth ulcer and it's found it. Oh! Hot diggity damn! It's so good I changed accent. Again, it's that thing where the second it hits your tongue, there's an explosion of flavour. It's the big reason why I'm looking forward to these a lot, because already the New Make Spirit was a fantastic example of sort of packing in as much flavour as they could. There's an almighty sourness at the back. As I'm talking now, it's really on my palate. It's unlike the sort of thing that I've had with any other whiskey, really. It's almost kind of like meaty and gamey. Something like of beef. But before that, I'm going to go back in because that is such a distracting element of it that's hanging out in my mouth. I'm going to have to kind of refresh my palate, as it were. Speculoos. I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, aren't I? Like the dulce de leche, stuff like thick, rich caramel sauce. A little bit of leather. It's kind of kinky. Ovaltine as well, kind of malt. Like there's a malt component to it. And then you start getting the kind of like silverside beef kind of thing. It's like it's sticking to the roof of your mouth. It's got like a fatty mouthfeel. Like you just ate a really heavily buttered crumpet. I mean, it's an experience. I'll give it that much. It's certainly an experience. Again, going to go in with a bit of water. It's much sweeter on the nose now. The water's kind of broken it down a little bit, and you're getting more of the flavour, more of the aromatics coming through with the whiskey now. My boyfriend, when he was visiting a few weeks ago, he brought some Lindt salted caramel chocolate truffles. It's quite a transformation in many respects. The Speculoos has sort of gone on a journey. The leather's no longer there, but there is still the malt component coming through as well. Fantastic, sweet, chocolatey, caramelly notes. With a heat on the finish, but it's not a burn, it's just heat. The difference between these two is quite astonishing, and it's a fantastic example of kind of like how different casks make a different, you know, like for people that don't necessarily understand or are still getting into whiskey or are just kind of like, oh, is it just a load of nonsense? This is the same new make that's had a completely different life, and it shows. It's a totally different beast. This one's a vanilla bomb, this one's chocolatey, salty, luscious, a little bit beefy, depending on if you have it with water or not. But it's certainly an adventure, that whiskey. Okay. So now we've got this third one. It's cask 230, and it's a first fill bourbon Heaven's Hill quarter cask. Quarter casks are quite exciting, so this will be kind of a good indicator of what the whiskey will be like further along in its life, because in quarter casks, whiskies tend to mature more quickly because they're smaller. And then Thirion Virgin French Oak, which is something which I'd never encountered before. Apparently, it's a region which monks came from, so that's exciting. And Virgin French Oak, which should mean that we're getting more vanilla off of this. I'd say should. I've tried it already, but vanilla pudding, rice pudding, something fairly milky about it, and fresh oak. If you've ever had like an open fire and someone's just chopped down an oak tree, yeah, it's a little bit sappy, grassy. There's a little bit of like white chocolate in there as well. Specifically white chocolate. There's something a little bit more buttery and almost like decadent compared to like higher cocoa chocolates. I thought this was a vanilla bomb, and then I had this. That's spectacular. Super spicy. Massive vanilla hit when it's literally the second you first put it in your mouth. It's kind of like, hello, I'm vanilla. It's giving me big reminiscence of like Madeira cake, or like dense, luscious, buttery cake. Vanilla ice cream as well. Butter, and then you've got spice coming through at the back, so you've got like cinnamon, clove, cardamom, and then the finish kind of like goes out to sort of like a very gentle vanilla note. And then it's sort of done with you. Vanilla and spice, and all things nice. Maybe that's what they should call the bottle. They won't do that, they'll come up with something way better. But, there we go. Give that a quick swoosharoo. Someone's ever had like French toast with some vanilla ice cream on it? That's what I'm getting on the nose there. Do you know, I'm not even going to say any other nose, that's nailed it, that's what it is. Okay, let's see what it's like with some water. Even though it's mellowed it out, vanilla. Like lashings, fucking lashings of vanilla. The mouthfeel's still really rich, thick, chewy, creamy. Got like bread and butter pudding kind of things coming in now, so a little bit yeasty, still loads of that like vanilla, custard, luscious thickness, and there's like a twang of fruitiness in there as well, just to kind of round it off. The spice is still there, but it's kind of faded into the background, and it's less complex now. The spice kind of given way to the vanilla, which is interesting. It's just like getting hit in the face with a shovel of flavour, though. It's one of those whiskies where I'm a little bit scared what it would be like after 10 years. It's like all of the whiskey's garbage. Now, I don't want to big them up too much, but at the same time, like, it's really impressive. It is. The age is kind of besides the point in some respects. If what you're working with is good, and you take enough time with your casks and picking out what it is you're exactly doing, you've got a full process and ethos behind it, the liquor is going to be good. And then we come to the last sample of the night. So this is cask 287, and it's a second fill Islay peated quarter cask, 62.7% ABV. A little bit of a tale behind this as well, so I'm going to just kind of read from my book what I've put. I originally wanted to put out a peated malt, but wasn't possible due to the setup. Founder's wife is a massive fan of Islay. I'm sure these people both have names. They were actually at the tasting, I just didn't jot it down for whatever reason. It's sort of like a faint iodine note. Furniture polish. There we go. It took me a second to get there, but I was like, I know that smell from somewhere. It's furniture polish. There's like a little bit of vanilla trying to kind of fight through, but yeah, there's more acrid notes to this. A little bit like mackerel as well. This is going weird. This one. Yeah, a little bit like smoked fishy, but not like you've had fish in your fridge for like 3 days and it started to give off that like ugh smell. Not that. Let's see what it tastes like. Bam, motherfucker, again. Has anyone ever had smoked butter? It's out there, it exists, and it's not a million miles away from this. The Islay, fuck's sake, that door. Hey. Ah, I love living in a fucking dungeon. What was I saying before the door? I'm just gonna have more whiskey. The door's taking me off thought process track. Am I drunk? Smoke, butter and fire, a little bit of coal. Sort of like a coal tar soap kind of a thing coming through. I've never eaten coal tar soap, but I've smelt it. I actually quite like the smell of it, to be perfectly honest. And it's given me a reminiscence of that. A little bit spicy on the finish, and there's like a sort of a faint... If smoked butterscotch was a thing, I kind of wish it was. Actually, no. This is what it's reminding me of. It's reminding me of salmiakki. Like salted licorice. Yeah. I knew there was something that was familiar that is unpopular but I like, which is most things, to be fair. But yeah, that's what it is. Salted licorice. Also, salted licorice is great. Seriously, you should go get some salted licorice. It's lovely stuff. The Islay cask, it's subtle. It's not like a full-blooded Islay, where it's kind of like, bam, here's smoke. That fucking door again. Not like a full-blooded Islay, where it's like whack you in the face, super aggressive. It's much gentler, and it complements it. If you're like a massive fan of like Islay whiskies, this might not necessarily be satisfying. It's much subtler. It's sort of like when Glendronach released their peated expression. A lot of people are kind of like, it's not very peated. I said, I mean, you know, it's second fill, and also, because it's a quarter cask, it's given a bit more than it normally would do. There's no reference to which distillery this has come from. I mean, I can take a guess, because there's certainly one that is quite famous for using quarter casks, but, you know, again, it's a lottery. With Islas, it tends to be a bit of a mystery, because that's the way they like it, baby. With water, more of the sweetness comes through. There's more kind of like a smoked ham, smoked bacon, smoky bacon and pancakes. That's kind of what that's reminding me of, because the vanilla note is coming through again, but you've still got the smoke, and it's a little bit meaty in there as well. Yeah! Here's a fun game. Drink every time the fucking door slams. What's that? You're dead from alcohol poisoning? Okay. Oh, I should have taken that shithole flat in Leith. Do you know, it was between this or another flat in Leith. The reason I didn't take the one in Leith was A, it was like 3 floors up and wouldn't have been good for the cat, and B, there was a junkie outside my door that they were trying to show us at 9 o'clock in the morning with a can of special brew being like, hey mate, you got a light? And I was like, yeah, this is the neighbourhood I want to be in. But I'd have gotten some peace and quiet at least, so that would have been good. Right, and that was my Lindores Abbey Maturing Spirit Special, or me drinking 460-odd% liquids and getting merry as hell on the internet while people come and go through a door that slams so loud it could wake the fucking dead themselves. Let me know down below. Are you looking forward to this now? Because you should. This is a distillery you absolutely should have your eye on, because they are producing some fucking stunning stuff. I have tried some bloody mediocre whiskies in the time that I've been doing this, and they get a lot of attention and they make a lot of money, and then you drink something like this and you're just like, I wish them well, but I bet loads of people just aren't going to know they're there, because most people just go for the marketing and the fact that it's cheap, and they don't really give a shit about the flavour, and it's such a shame because they are putting their hearts and souls into this, and you can tell because it's immediately apparent. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do thumb the video, and do let me know actually which of these you might be intrigued in trying. I'm pissed. Oh my god. Tell me which of these you might want to try. That's the words I'm trying to... Hang on, I'm just going to add some water. Lovely. Yeah, and subscribe to the channel because I do these kind of shenanigans a lot. I'm going to go and lie in the bath now.